welcome back to a new episode of The Life of a Makeup Artist. Today we talk to Shennel Patrick, otherwise known as Hey Nelli, the purpose-driven artist. Hailing from the Spice Island, Grenada, my Caribbean sister, her mission is to help women bridge the gap between their love for beauty and their spiritual being and healing. She passionately educates pro and aspiring artists to create from a place of higher purpose and intention. In quarantine, some days I have felt super productive, and others I've just needed like a second to breathe and rest and not strategize. And that is okay. I've learned to give myself permission to feel every emotion that comes and just let it be fully. Even in the midst of discomfort and the heartbreak that we're seeing, I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to reflect, refocus. And in today's episode of Quarantine Diaries, we speak to Shennel on managing your mindset. Nelly, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Hi.
I am so excited. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Firstly, how are you? How are you doing?
I'm going through a range of emotions. If we're asking about today, it's the energy's intense. I think we all feel it. I'm frustrated today. I'm super frustrated. Mm-hmm. I'm going through the motions. I'm incensed, but overall, yeah. I'm really, really thankful that through all of this, my soul is well, and my mind is at peace.
Yeah, I love that. Well, we are all in this together. And, before we get into what the episode is about, I really want the audience to be able to know a little bit more about your background as an artist. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes. So I've been on this makeup artist journey for about 9 years. My journey as an artist, I would say, started from my really early childhood beginning. I've always been seduced by the arts. It was more so in my childhood, it was more so through the art form of storytelling, anything to do with like creative writing. My mother was a single parent raising me on an island. And if you know island mothers, they're full of theatrics. But my mother in particular, was known for quoting Shakespeare in the middle of cursing her ass out. So she was like a literature buff. So in my household, also, I was raised by educators. So writing was just always, and creative writing was always part of my upbringing. But as far as makeup artistry, I always say that the beauty industry kind of chose me. I fell into the beauty artistry at about 19 years old, doing hair as a hairstylist. And that came about because I found myself on the streets of New York, not knowing a goddamn thing about the city, and homeless and needing a job, of course. And so I fell into the hair business, and I had my daughter at 23. So I did hair from 19 to about 21, 22. And then I started doing nannying. I became a nanny. And so being undocumented, if you don't know what living as an undocumented immigrant feels like, you kind of sort of live day to day thinking about survival and not so much planning for the future. So after hair, I fell into makeup. But the fear and the criticism and my network not having anything to do with the beauty industry, I came here to go to college to pursue law. And so in our culture, makeup artistry was not a respected career. Thankfully, a decade later, things are changing. But the beauty industry kind of chose me at a time where I was fighting to find my way in a city that I didn't know. It embraced me. I was able to walk into rooms as an undocumented immigrant that I only dreamed about because of beauty, because of makeup, and my pursuit of it. So I hold a lot of high honor to this makeup journey.
So having started in hair and coming into makeup, was there a defining moment where you felt like, okay, this is the path that was meant for me to take? Because there's a lot of things where sometimes you're like, oh, you could have had moments in your makeup career, you're like, oh, I should go back to hair, or oh, I should do something else. Like, was there a moment where you're like, no, this is what I'm supposed to be doing?
There were a few. I think once I started realizing that there was this gift that was bigger than makeup, the gift to connect with women on a level that I was never able to before, the being able to hold space for women to feel safe and validated. So makeup kind of opened up my eyes to my own healing, my own personal healing, and the healing of other women. And I believe when I found true purpose in this was a near fatal car accident in 2016, which, I mean, if you've ever been through anything catastrophic or even a car accident, you don't have a choice but to shift. You know what I mean? There's a huge shift in consciousness that happens when you go through something like that. And so I remember every day laying in the hospital bed. I spent about a month in the hospital and about 9 months in rehabilitation, and just asking God for the opportunity to do makeup again, because I had to be able to stand on my feet and I had to learn to walk all over again. And so the thought of not being able to stand on my feet and just do what I love, or run in the park with my daughter, and those were my two prayers. I want to be able to walk again so I can do what I love, and I want to be able to run in the park with my daughter. So I believe those months and those weeks in the hospital and those months of just rehabilitating really defined why this industry chose me and why I was a part of it. Because through all of that, one of my fear was also becoming obsolete in the industry. You know what I mean? Because almost a year of not doing makeup and building my brand on social media, that's a just thought, you know what I mean? But the way that the audience trumped for me and my followers supported me and my clients just rallied for me, I can't forget that. And so that really defined my purpose and why I was called to do what I do.
That's so powerful, because this industry is like, if you do something great today, it's like, all right, well, what's next? They're always asking you what's next, and I'm sure in that position you don't know what's next.
Absolutely. The fuel is the next big thing that you do.
Right. Wow, thank you for sharing. And being a freelancer, it's already a place of uncertainty, and now with COVID-19 it brings an entirely new set of feelings. How have you been keeping yourself centered?
Honestly, at the beginning of this, one of the things that I said was, as artists, I believe that our journey has prepared us for a pandemic. Our journey has prepared us to pivot at the drop of a dime. And as artists, we're supposed to be recreating ourselves constantly. And so for me, I started there, right? This time, this reset, what can I do so that whenever the new normal happens, that I'm coming out of it on top? And so that's been my perspective from the beginning. And so my faith in the vision that God gave me before pre-COVID, I believe in that. I believe in that deeply. And so just prayer and a lot of meditation, a lot of time alone. My love for writing has been reignited. So I've been spending a lot of time doing that. The anxiety comes up, the discomfort comes up, but like you said, I sit in it, I cry if I need to, I vent if I need to, but I don't stay there, because the perspective that I began with is the vision is still the same. The circumstances just changed.
Wow. And you mentioned earlier that you have a daughter, and for the artists that have kids, what are some ways that you have managed homeschooling and still feeling like, you're being productive on the days that you want to be. Like, how has that process been?
It's been a shit show, but thankfully, like I said, it all goes back to your mindset and the mindset that you begin with and the lens that you're looking at this whole experience from. From the beginning, I knew that we needed to be on a consistent schedule, that I couldn't change too much of what she's used to. So the bedtimes had to be still implemented, although that falls on the floor plenty nights. But waking up at the same time, having breakfast, putting some music on, praying, and just a consistent routine. Thankfully I've been able to maintain her dance classes, so she still has some sort of a routine because children need that. But honestly, especially in this past month, I've just let shit fall on the floor because I can't manage it all. And community has been invaluable to me as always. Like, I created a mom group because I talk about my remote learning experience a lot on Instagram. And so we were able to create a mom group with moms and educators and some healthcare professionals, and just being able to support each other. Last night we had a really powerful webinar with another group, and they were full of educators and policymakers, and so we were just talking about how we can come together and create a village to support our children's mental health and our own. So that's what I've been doing, just giving myself grace and saying I need help, or where do you need help? Just reaching out.
Thanks so much for sharing that. I think what you guys are doing is super powerful. And, I'm curious, what are some parts of your business that you have not been focused on or have not been able to focus on in the past that you're now breathing new life into?
I've When something like this is happening in the world, or any event, I feel like that affects us so deeply. Like I said, we've all been feeling like the universe is going to a complete reset, and she's just replenishing and revitalizing and taking back what's hers. And so for me, in all areas of my life, especially my business, I've looked at the structure and how I was operating pre-COVID, and the things that I was doing and or implementing, the systems I was running on that was not serving me before. I've definitely been just going back and creating new systems, and we've talked about this personally. Creating templates for outreach. Definitely focusing more on brands and campaigns and how to position myself on social media and other platforms to get that visibility. Studying brands portfolios, like I've been reading like a mad woman, studying brand portfolio, but not just their products or their stock portfolio, but their financial portfolio. I think that's important to know, especially when we're talking about the budgets that are being cut for artists and freelancers. I've been updating my media kit. Well, that I'm done with. I've finally finished with that. Yay! I know, right? Creating pitch decks for the ideas that I have, so they're not just ideas sitting there waving around. Preparing myself for outreach. And I have not. I don't feel like I've put anything concrete out yet, other than the YouTube channel that I started. But I just know that I need to operate a little slower and more strategically. So those are the things that I've been doing, and my finances as well. In the God's honest truth, especially in business, like my finances were a mess. So I've really been checking my mindset when it comes to finances and abundance and maintaining abundance. Because a lot of us, we have the ability to attract it very easily, but there's some limiting beliefs that blocks us from maintaining it, multiplying it, investing it, and that kind of thing. So that's where I am.
Do you mind sharing a bit more on like those financial mental blocks that you have and like how you're working through it? Because I think sometimes money can be a very taboo subject. Some people don't like to talk about money, but I'm just like, we got to lay it all out. all out, and that's that's the reason why I created this podcast in the first place.
Yeah. So for me, like I said, it's a mindset thing. I've identified that I for sure don't have a problem attracting it, manifesting it, creating it. What I do have a problem in is my mindset towards, like I said, multiplying it and maintaining it. There's a fear attached to that. And what's been helping me with that is definitely journaling and meditating and a lot of like root chakra meditations. I did a YouTube series on, my first YouTube video was on root chakra healing. And so, yeah, I've just been like really, really, how should I say it? Separating my personal and my business finances, looking into new ways to save, looking into Black-owned banks and easier way to invest in a language that I understand. Because, like you said, money can become so taboo and tricky. But I really believe that once you conquer the mindset part of it, identify where your money blockages are, I feel like you can really conquer your financial issues. And then we start dealing with things like credit and saving and all that. Because if you put a bunch of money in a jar and you can't even keep that, we can't move on to things like investing. And, we got to start with the mindset.
I love that. So my next question was centered around, some of the practices that you would want to share with our listeners. And I know you've mentioned, the root chakra meditation, you've been journaling. Are there anything other practices that you found helpful, like maybe a social media detox, or maybe you can share more about the root chakra meditation? I'm not sure if a lot of people are familiar, but I really just kind of want to get more information on how, because we like meditate, and some people just, you sit there and you're like, oh, am I doing this right? Like my mind is going a mile a minute. So, can you share more about like, your practices and how it's, worked for you?
So I always tell people to simplify any spiritual practice, because the greatest warfare you will ever fight is the warfare in your mind. You literally have to wake up and conquer that every day, because you're going to have negative thoughts. You're going to have limiting beliefs. You're going to sit to meditate and some nonsense comes up. You're going to have distractions. So as long as you're aware, acutely aware of those things that are coming up and why they're coming up, and being intentional about how you want to move forward through it, I say to start there with meditation. I mean, there's a lot of information online about meditation, but again, everything starts with self and going within. And you can sit there and look at a million videos if you want to, but if your intention is not focused on self, you're going to constantly be distracted and feel stuck.
Right.
And so yeah, my meditation practice looks different almost every day. Some days I wake up and I do my guided meditations. Some days I get down on my knees and I pray. There's some days that I have to dance, because that's just what my spirit needs.
Right. Step away from it all. Just put everything down and kind of give yourself a moment. That also, that it helps. It works for me too. I'm just like, you know what? I'm not doing anything today. Like, that's it.
Meditation is what you make meditation, and meditation is intention. And so I even tell artists when I educate, your art is meditation. Your art is prayer. Art has been responsible for shifting consciousness since the beginning of time, and especially now. I believe that if you have the strength to even pick up your brush or your utensils, your tools, pick them up, because that is your prayer, that is your meditation. If that's how you get to that place, then do that.
I love that. So I know that there are a ton of things that we are all looking forward to, but is there anything in particular where you're like, I am ready, I'm ready for this, I can do it tomorrow if I have the chance? What would be that thing for you?
I want to be in the island sun, laying out on the beach with my bum out, glowing with a mango. I just really want to I want to go home.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
go home.
Yeah, I just want to I don't want to be 2 shades lighter anymore. I just want to be in the sun for unspecified amount of time. Of course, with sunscreen.
Absolutely, absolutely. I just want to get next to the water. I want to plant my feet in the earth and just get my grounding and my balance. You know what I mean? Because it's shaky out here. It's shaky out here. As much as we talk about mindset, we have to also be honest with ourselves about the shit that's coming up. And I do believe the shit that's coming up right now is the shit that we were not paying attention to pre-COVID.
Right.
So I could not end this episode without touching on the NYC COVID-19 fund that we both started. I mentioned it briefly in the episode with Savannah from Super Great. If you haven't listened to that episode, definitely go back. But I can speak on it obviously, but can you tell our viewers more about how it even came up? Because we've known each other for quite some time, but only when COVID happened, we kind of, like our minds and energies kind of collided. So can you give us a little bit more info?
Absolutely. So, like you said, the New York City MUA COVID Fund came about really organically. We were just, boxing brains and trying to figure out how we can be of service. Because, like, again, the money mindset thing came up really heavy for me once I realized we were on shutdown and artists were out of work. I'm like, damn, 2 years ago, a year ago, maybe even 10 months ago, I could have done some things differently where I would have been in a position to help my artist community personally. And so we talked about that. And because we were not in the position to do that, and, I'm a mom, I am running a business, I invested in a business pre-COVID that I was getting ready to launch. So we weren't able to do that personally. And so collectively, we decided to start this fund to help the New York City artists who were going through immediate hardship. That intention is the same, but it kind of sort of shifted because every day there's been a new update, and we thought this was going to be maybe a month, but this is looking like something that's going to take us at least 2 years to hold our head up above water. And and so with the fund, what we now hope to do is long term help any New York City makeup artist who signs up for this fund get back into the groove of work, maybe purchase things like new kits or new products for their kits, travel costs, things like that. So we're looking now to extend this fund into a long-term cause.
And if you guys have any further questions, you can feel free to message us at The Life of a Makeup Artist. You can send us a DM or you can reach out to Nelly directly. Now, I have to say a huge thank you for, all the gems that you've shared with us today. How can we support you? How can we find you on social media? Maybe some people might want to join your mom group. Tell us how we can find you.
Absolutely. The easiest way to find me is on the gram. That's where all the party's going down. Hey Nelli, HEYNELLI. You can also find my new YouTube channel. I have a few videos up there. I'm trying to get content out as fast as I can. It's also Hey Nelli. My website, www.heynelli.com. And my DMs are open. You can ask me any questions. And as far as the mom group, also DM me and I can add you to the group as well. And if you're an educator, a mental health therapist, anyone in the education field that has insight resources to offer, I would love for you to be in the group.
I love what you're doing. Thank you so much for sharing that and for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate you and I appreciate your platform. You're just a gem. You're amazing. Okay. You're amazing. I really honor getting to know you, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I look forward to see more of what you do. And until the next episode, guys, bye.
Bye.